Welcome back, everyone, to another Eats Beat Live, the most delicious live stream in the Metroplex. I'm Bud Kennedy.
And Steve Wilson.
Welcome back to Eats Beat Live. Chef Tim Love, in the middle of everything in Fort Worth, in the middle of a $1 billion new development in the stockyards. Not his $1 billion, but he's right in the middle of it. In the middle of restaurants in West Fort Worth, in the middle of live music all over Fort Worth and all over the nation. Tim, where have you been? You've been to Bonnaroo, and what music festival before that, and where next?
Yeah, we were at Bonnaroo Music Festival, and the music festival before that was Two Step In. And our next step for our festival team is going to be Hinterland Music Festival in St. Charles, Iowa.
Are you the producer of any of these, or are you just going along?
I'm not the producer of any of the music festivals. I just do all the premium catering for the most part and a lot of the concessions.
Okay, wow, that's fantastic. I wanted to have you on. What got my interest, first of all, was the summer at Caterina's, and I want to talk about that first. We have so much to talk about stockyards and everything going on in Fort Worth restaurants, but I don't want to get away without you talking about Caterina's, your Italian restaurant in Mule Alley that opened, and you opened with kind of a splash about different rules about your cell phone and dress code and trying to do something a little nicer for Fort Worth. And so talk about what you're doing now for the summertime. Everybody's a little more cash.
That's right. So we've addressed a lot of concerns with a lot of our guests. The number one being valet. With a nice restaurant like Caterina's, a lot of the ladies aren't wanting to walk in high heels and things like that across the cobblestones and bricks and things like that. So we have now what we call it two-step express. So when you valet on Exchange, we have a nice golf cart that'll take you from valet to the front door of Caterina's, Tannehill's, or Paloma, but it was originally designed for Caterina's. So that's the first thing. You want to change your kind of approach and the way you leave. So we have door-to-door service from valet, which is really great. And then for summer, we've relaxed the dress code where you don't have to have a jacket. If you don't, obviously we still welcome jackets and things like that, but it is so hot that we've relaxed the jacket. And then for cell phones, in the summertime, we allow cell phones outside and at the bar, but we still don't allow cell phones in the dining room. We want, it's more, we don't really say it as more of a policy. It's more of an experience. We want people to enjoy themselves, and that's what Caterina's is all about. It's an escape, and it's a dining experience that we want you to focus on the people that you're with and the time that you're having and on the food, and just enjoy yourself without distractions. But we do understand that some people are moving around and bustling around about. We do have a really beautiful patio at Caterina's that has 4 tables on it. So cell phones are allowed out there if you want to, and also at the bar now.
Now, is the dress code relaxed at night, and you have lunch now? Is it Friday, Saturday, Sunday lunch? Tell me about Caterina's lunch.
Yeah, Caterina's lunch is great. It's a 4-course prefix menu. That's $39.99 or $95 maybe, and you can substitute in anything. We have some substitutions you can add into that prefix menu for a couple add-ons, or you can order from the dinner menu. It's also fully available at lunch. We also, which people aren't talking about, have dollar martinis at lunch, which is amazing. So if you want to come have a nice, fun, boozy lunch on Fridays, which I really like, it's a great opportunity to do that.
A lot of people still haven't gone to Caterina's, and they ask what's the difference in Caterina's and Gemelli. When you talk, they're both Italian concepts, but they're very different.
Yeah, Caterina's is your New York high-end red sauce joint, which you could liken to maybe realize what like Carbone or something similar to that. Whereas Gemelli is a coastal Ravello vibe from like Capri or Positano, super light, very vegetable forward, bright and light, and Caterina's is dark and intimate and lovely.
Caterina's is one of 5, 6 concepts you have in the Mule Alley area. Of course, you have the original Lonesome Dove that you pioneered, started there. You have Paloma Suerte now, the Tex-Mex restaurant that's back-to-back across Marine Creek. And then you have, of course, the White Elephant Saloon and the Love Shack burgers, and then Tannehill's. And Tannehill's has some food along with the music. I don't think people know that. What should people eat when they come to Tannehill's?
I tell you what, Tannehill's Tavern is spectacular. Unbelievable raw oyster and grilled oyster program there. We got great New Orleans style grilled Gulf oysters, and then we have 5 different oysters from the East and West Coast that are all cocktail size and beautiful. So I always suggest going there, get a split of champagne and some oysters. It's amazing. We have a tremendous wood grilled ribeye there. We've got lots of barbecue. We do a great brisket plate, a pork rib plate, smoked chicken, and then we do all of our appetizers are tons of fun. So coming to Tan Hills is like going to a tremendous American brasserie, but very barbecue focused. So we've got 2 big smokers out on the side. So people don't realize the amount of barbecue we do there, but we sell a ton of it. We have an amazing fried bologna sandwich there, which is my favorite thing on the menu, and a tremendous burger. Then also, another thing that people don't realize is our little hidden pizza joint. So New York style pie. I think you had some, Bud, when we very first opened. It's great. Got a nice little crispy crust. Something Dave Portnoy would probably love. Our pizza is very, very much his style. And then all the food is available throughout the lounge. And then if you go to a show at Tan Hills, we have full service, the only 1,000-cap venue in the country that has full dinner service, full wine service, all the mezzanine seats and suites.
So even at your show, you can eat dinner in the mezzanine. So
absolutely. If you have a mezzanine ticket, you have full service and full menus available, which is really amazing. So you can still have a good dinner in a show, or you can have dinner in the restaurant and come up and enjoy the show either way.
I want to ask about some of the other restaurants, but I don't want to get out of the stockyards first before we talk about. A lot of people are just airing their gripes on social media, saying, "Oh my gosh, $1 billion in new development. Oh, the old stockyards is going away. Oh, they're ruining the stockyards. Oh, we're losing our Fort Worth." And I have a feeling you have a different idea about that.
Well, listen, I can understand how people like to jump on social media and complain about things. I would say most of those people have never been to the stockyards in the last 10 years. And it's easy to complain about something you don't know about. So, true ignorance causes a lot of, people make up stuff of what's about to happen and things like that. But I can assure you, the reason why the project is so expensive is the whole idea is to make sure that nothing affects what the stockyards is. So we're building an amazing. I say we. I'm not really doing it, but I speak in the we with stockyards. But 3 or 4 story underground parking lot, so we don't have these ugly parking garages and eyesores. All the buildings are 3 stories at most to maintain the integrity of what the stockyards is. The streets are a bit windy. It's like a mini city that's being built, and it's much needed, frankly. We need parking. We need more hotels in the stockyards. We're the most visited place in the state of Texas, and we need to accommodate people who want to come to our wonderful city. So why would you be upset about creating more opportunity and more great things for the city? We're the biggest tax base that goes into the city coffer is coming out of the stockyards right now. Everything is positive for the city in the stockyards as far as I'm concerned. So I'd love to know what the real gripe would be, because to me, if we're taking a piece of dirt that sat there with dust on it for, I don't know, forever, and turning it into something very, very positive that's going to help our city out and show off our city. And I'm going to do a few projects in there myself. And so I'm excited for it to get started.
What are you going to do? Tell us.
Well, I can't tell you that, but I'm doing some projects. I like the way you operate, though.
Okay. Of course, I tell people the people who complain are people who, like you say, haven't gone to the stockyards in 10 years. And number 2, a lot of them don't live in Fort Worth. They come from out of town, from the suburbs somewhere, and they come in and they don't want things to change, and they don't see the need for the jobs and development that the new growth in the stockyards brings. They don't see that the north side needs jobs, and the people in the north side need the kind of jobs that this brings. The way the whole wealth of the north side has grown since the development of Mule Alley has been tremendous. And you've seen people fixing up their homes, and people with more money in the bank, and families being able to put their kids deeper in school. And you've just seen a lot more success with the growth of Mule Alley. So I think that's a real important thing too. It's been good for the whole north side.
I would agree with that. And, we're going to get some housing down there too, which I think I'm very excited about. The biggest complaint I get about the stockyards is there's no place to park. So we're trying to solve that problem first, so it is tough. I mean, you push 9-10 million people through a district the size of the stockyards, parking is an issue. And so we're trying to address that. And, Craig is a great partner, and I love working with Craig, and we've done a lot of great things together, and I intend to continue to support what they're doing.
I tell people, take Uber, take Lyft, go during the day. You can park during the day. You can drive in for brunch at Paloma Suerte and drive right up to the door and park almost. And
100%. Yeah.
you can always, of course, you can always valet. The valet stand is at the end of Mule Alley on Exchange, and it's right outside the other shack, not your Love Shack, but that other shack.
Yeah, that other shack. That's right.
That's where the valet stand is. Steve, you want to ask him about barbecue, about the Woodshed? You want to ask him about some other restaurants?
Well, yeah, I've heard something about air conditioning, Mitch.
Yes. Yes.
He had those big fans before.
Tremendous amount of news right there, Steve. Air conditioning at the Woodshed. Say it off the mountaintops, would you? Yeah.
So you can come off right off the trail and get some air conditioning besides a nice cool drink.
That's right. Yeah, we're excited. The inside is air conditioned. We're also going to do some. The Woodshed was shut down for about 2 weeks in August. Actually, while we're at Hinterland, so we're doing such an impact at Hinterland this year. We did 9 concession stands for this music festival in Iowa. So we're shutting down Woodshed and Gemelli for 2 weeks in August while we do some much needed repairs at Woodshed. We're redoing the entire deck outside. We're enclosing one more section of the dining room where the garage doors open up to. We're putting a rooftop deck on top of those garage doors so you can look down on the music and things like that. And then at Gemelli, we're just redoing some floors and some much needed maintenance that we need to do over there. So, the air conditioning, and I'm trying to convince TRWD to let me put a giant slide from Woodshed into the river. So we'll see how that goes. But I think that'd be a lot of fun for all these kids that come down there and have 2 or 3 extra beers. Why not? So slide right in the river. They want people to go in the river. I'm like, let's build a slide.
Well, if you get one, Brian's going to want one at Kingsey too, because he's got lots of river interaction ideas too. So
yeah, that'd be great. Well, hopefully I can get it convinced, and he can get one too.
He wants to have a high wire act, have a wire across the river, and have tightrope walkers across the river and things like that. So everybody wants to have more interaction with the river. And we should say Woodshed is the barbecue restaurant, global barbecue and more. That's just off University Drive near the Clear Fork Bridge near the zoo. And then we mentioned Gemelli, which is on White Settlement Road, also near the river, west of downtown, just after the curve in the road, driving west on White Settlement. And did you say Gemelli will have some improvements too, or it'll just be closed for a couple of weeks?
Yeah, we're gonna do some improvements there. That building, as you well know, is a 1940s grocery, and this will be the 5th floor I've put in that dining room. We just can't get anything to hold on that old concrete. And I get a new expert every like 5 years. It tells me how it's going to do or something. It doesn't work. So we're redoing the floor once again. so
the riverbed keeps sinking on you, I guess. Probably.
I guess so. I don't know, man. So I'm excited about it, though. Steve,
anything else on your mind?
How's the hotel doing over there?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, the hotel's doing amazing. That's a great question. It took a little while to get started. We struggle a little bit on Mondays and Tuesdays and Wednesdays because we don't have a lot of reason for business people to be on that side of town necessarily, but our weekends are full all the time, and great feedback. I mean, it is a great little spot, especially you want to come with 4 or 5 people. You kind of get your own commune, which is really fun. We do it a lot for bachelorette parties and bachelor parties and, small family gatherings. They'll take the whole place, which is also nice. And, but having breakfast on those rooftops, delivered to your room, sitting out looking over the river is pretty spectacular.
And Steve's talking about the Hotel Otto, which is next to Gemelli. When the Otto opened, the Otto and the Dreiss were the 2 main hotels for Dickies Arena. Since then, we've had a couple of big guys come in, the Crescent and the Bowie House. But these are still the boutique hotels that are closest to the museums and the cultural district.
So, that's right. And Dreiss is great. What a great little spot that is. What a great addition for Fort Worth. I'm glad it's there.
Yeah, really, we're really well run. What I want to ask you, there one of your old employers is making a big move at the end of the month. Actually, there's 2 restaurants moving at the end of the month. In the Stockyards, Los Vaqueros will close at the end of June, and they'll be moving over onto Rodeo Plaza in that long building, the exhibit building that kind of faces Billy Bob's on an angle. But it's the building between Cattleman's and Billy Bob's. And so Los Vaqueros will be moving over there next month. And then Riata will close at the end of June, your old employer, and they'll move a couple of blocks downtown. What did it say to you that when Riata had to move, that they chose to stay downtown? Was that good news for downtown? What do you think about the downtown scene?
Well, I don't know. I don't really dig into much of downtown, so my opinion's not super valid. Kind of like somebody having an opinion on stockyards that hadn't been there, right? I mean, obviously, I go to downtown, but I know Riata. Really, when I've talked to Mike, he just really likes downtown, and so I had thoughts of at times of Riata coming to the stockyards, which I think would be cool. I also thought Riata would do really well at Clear Fork, but I'm not the owner of Riata and I don't run Riata. And so, I imagine, and has nothing to do with anything, but, just as a fan of Riata, I imagine it going to Clear Fork and taking 2 acres and putting some cattle out there and creating this whole ranch vibe, which I thought would be really cool for Riata. But Mike really likes downtown. And so, of course I wish them the best and want to help them out any way I can. I hope they find a real permanent home. And I think they are, right? Are they going to the top of the tower again or something?
I think if things work out, of course, I still think they're talking with the Omni, and if things don't work out,
that's right. I'm sorry.
If things don't work out with the Omni, then I think they will, find another home down there. There's a plan B, but I think they're still talking with the Omni, and of course they're trying to work things out between them and Bob Steak and Chop, and how to work that out. But I think that Riata really likes the convention business, and
that's right.
It just shows the convention business downtown is really strong, and that downtown's still really strong. So,
and they're obviously we got a new convention center coming in town, so they'll weather the storm because they're that good. They're a well-oiled machine, and I really like Mike, and I really like the team they put together down there, and I'm obviously proud that I was there. What was it, 25 years ago? And I think it's a little bit of an odd spot that they're in right now, but they're staying downtown, they're making it happen, and that's kind of what we do in this business. We grit through it and get to the place we want to be.
Polito's reopens next week. The old original Polito's.
I just read that. That's awesome, by the way.
Yeah. You have Paloma Suerte. Fort Worth is like this outpost of Tex-Mex where we love Tex-Mex, and you kind of lifted Tex-Mex into another level, but you're not trying to do interior Mexico or anything. Paloma Suerte is very much a Tex-Mex restaurant.
Yeah, as I think you commented one time, Bud, a couple years ago when we opened, we specifically called it Fort Worth Tex-Mex, meaning it's just kind of my version of it. I didn't want anybody to be offended by what I was doing or anything like that. We wanted to take really high-end ingredients and do Tex-Mex, and it's the food I love, food I grew up on. And I also feel like if you open up a Tex-Mex restaurant in Fort Worth and it does well, that means it can probably survive in most any other place in Tex-Mex. Because as you said, we have a plethora of amazing Tex-Mex restaurants in Fort Worth, and I'm just happy to be a part of it. I mean, we love Paloma. I love Paloma a lot. And it is my version of Tex-Mex. We did some fun stuff and kind of elevated things, as you might call it, but it's not your typical Tex-Mex restaurant, but without a doubt, it's Tex-Mex.
Yeah, we're like the museum of Tex-Mex food. Places around the state like Felix in Houston, and even one of the Caserio in San Antonio. I think one of those places is closing and on the river, and it's like but we still have Tex-Mex restaurants that date back to the 1930s. We have places with old tradition, even the Mexican cafes, and then the original moved, and Joe T's for what they do, which isn't technically Tex-Mex, but a lot of it is, and you've made like a tribute Tex-Mex restaurant over there. All I hear about Paloma Suerte is people saying, "Well, we tried to go to Paloma Suerte, but we couldn't get in." So that's all I cover. That's all I hear. So that's good news.
Yeah, it is good news. It's funny it's a very beloved restaurant, and it's approachable, but yet it's got some really fun stuff if you want to get adventurous. We specialize there in the birria tacos and our tableside queso, but everything on that menu sells. All my restaurants, I do a tasting every 2 weeks. So to just make sure everything's on par is something we instituted about a year and a half ago. And Paloma, of all the restaurants probably is the most consistent.
I think so too.
It really, they just have it dialed in, and it's probably because we started these tastings with basically the opening of this restaurant, and so they're just more prepared and more in the groove of how that all works. And most of the time they're all pretty good, actually, really good. And it's ticky tacky stuff that I get into, but it's really created a really great restaurant in Paloma.
Steve, I want to ask Chef Lev about the live music scene. Did you have any other foodie thing you wanted to ask about or talk about?
No, I think that is there a genre of food you'd like to get in that you haven't gotten into yet?
Yeah, what have you not done you want to do?
Absolutely. That's a great question, Steve, because we do have some things in the works. We are going to do a sushi concept sometime near in the future. And I really want to do an approachable neighborhood, for lack of better words, kind of Asian spot, which would be like a combo of Thai and Chinese and a little bit of Japanese, like a fun neighborhood restaurant with dumplings and noodles and, a couple of really fun Thai dishes. And I've just really been getting a lot into that style of cooking. And I know it's 3 different styles. Don't get me wrong. I don't want anybody to get mad at me. But I want to do one of those type of restaurants that you get a lot of each of those cultures. And I've just really been intrigued by the food for about the last year. We'll probably do a pop-up at our office to give it a run, see how the public feels about it before we actually move forward. But we really want to do something like that. And I really want to do a sushi restaurant. I've been really trying to find the right space to do it. We're prepared to do it, but we don't know when that's going to pop up or how it's going to come about. And go ahead.
What I'm hearing sounds like a kind of a craft cocktail menu, smaller version of My Kitchen, maybe with some good variety and but simpler and more neighborhood. That sounds good.
Yeah, that might be a good comparison, Bud. And then we also last thing I want to do is like a fish camp, like a New Orleans fish camp, fried fish, kind of a Galveston Gulf Coast type vibe. I don't think we really have one in Fort Worth. I think it'd be something that I'd like to probably put in the stockyards. I think it'd be really approachable and just as kind of fun. I mean, I don't know how to say it the right way, but it's I will by the time I get done building it. But really fun fried fish joint. I mean, I guess we do have something similar to it, which is across from Railhead.
Yeah, Flying Fish is at East Texas, Caddo Lake. It's at East Texas.
Yeah, East Texas. This can be more towards the Gulf, but a little bit of New Orleans, traditional New Orleans food in there with some etouffee and things like that.
I'm excited about Asian food. That's right up my alley. And when you do the noodles, if you can do them where they're hand pulled, where you can actually watch the guy pull the noodles.
Yeah, man. If I can find somebody to do that, that's also our other problem, right? It's like talent. We got to find some talent that can pull all that off, which I that's what I want to do. And so that's why we haven't done it. It's more of finding a team. Once we get the whole concept done and the menu decided, what we want to do is finding a team that can execute. So we don't want to step on our toes.
Well, there's got to be somebody in Brooklyn who'll come help. So
that's right, exactly.
I want to ask you about music because I see that you've talked a lot lately about music. There's been a lot of just like the complaining about the stockyards. There's been a lot of weeping and wailing and gnashing of teeth about this live music club closed and that live music club closed and what's happening to live music in Fort Worth. And I say over and over, I think Tim Love puts more musicians to work every night of the week in Fort Worth than anyone else. You said 50 some?
Not 90 shows a month we do.
90 shows a month of live music. What do you think the live music scene is like here? Is it good, bad, going home? What?
No, I don't. I think the live music business is tough. I kind of, I had a couple people get mad at me when people ask me the same question and they're like, what's happening to live music? And I say, nothing's happening to the live music. It's the business of it, which is tough. And I guess it was kind of mistakenly taken. I'm not saying that I don't want to offend anybody in the sense of running a live music venue is tough because bands are expensive, equipment's expensive, people are expensive these days. And, you used to be able to get a guy to run production for a show for $75 or $100. Now it's $250. and the economies of scale don't work out. So if you have a 200 cap venue, and even if you sell out every time, which isn't going to be the case, because a 200 cap venue gets bands that draw somewhere between 100 and 200 people. That means they don't draw 200 every time, right? So we're not going to sell 200 tickets every time. So it comes down to that you just can't afford to do it. I mean, the building's too expensive, unless you own the building, right? And it's just hard to run the business of it. It's a tough business. And, you know, like I tell people about restaurants, the same thing. It's not the restaurant, come have fun. It's restaurant business. And I think what we're seeing is a product of, you know, these smaller venues are tough to stay open because it just costs too much to run.
How much of that is on the other end of people wanting to come earlier, leave earlier, not stay as late, and not drink as much? How much of the impact?
I don't think that's really the case. I mean, there's bands where people drink less, and there's bands where people drink more. There's bands where people eat more, bands where people eat less. I mean, I can almost chart it for you. You know, the amount of shows I've done, and we keep every band. We know what we sold with each band. We have this huge book, and that's how we move bands around. Like, oh, this band would be great at Woodshed. You know, last time they played, people hung out longer. You know, things like that. It's more that, you know, a pre-sale ticket is a harder music venue to keep open than a door ticket. And I say that in the sense of, like, for instance, White Elephant is a door ticket, right? You walk up. If we have a band that requires a cover, and, you know, all that money goes to the band. We don't keep any of it, but that's a door ticket, as opposed to Tan Hills, where a lot of our shows are a pre-sale ticket. And you do a pre-sale ticket, you get one set of people, and they come to the show, and it's, you know, hour and a half to 2.5 hours, depending on if there's opener or not. Whereas a door ticket like White Elephant, we play honky tonk sets, and a honky tonk set is 4 45-minute sets. So we get a group of people that comes in, about 150 people, so to say, and they have fun and drink for 45 minutes. And when the band goes on break, half of those people leave, right? Then we get another new set of people. They're definitely going to drink. Whereas you have one set of people, they get 2 drinks across the entire time. And so that's the tough part about a pre-sale music venue. And
yeah, people who come to the White Elephant are coming to come to the White Elephant, and they'll look in, and unless there's some really awful band, they'll go on in. Well,
that's exactly right.
People who are coming
$5 $10, and like, sure, I'll come in. You know.
Yeah, exactly. While people, you know, go into a pre-sale place, I mean, like you say, they're coming just for that show, and they bought tickets just for that show, not particularly for the venue. So
that's right. So that makes that business a little bit more difficult to manage and operate. And so, you know, unless you have a venue that's in a neighborhood where people are milling about, and they may pop in and buy that $10 ticket or $20 ticket for that matter, it's tough to operate that business because you're relying on people to drive straight there for that show. And Tan Hills has an advantage in the sense that, you know, you can come eat dinner also, whether it be at Tan Hills or Paloma or at Provender Hall or at the Biscuit Place or Shake Shack. I mean, you know, there's all these options. He's like, oh, we'll go to the stockyards and eat, and then I'm going to go to the show I paid for. That even makes it a little bit better, you know, of an opportunity. But, you know, when you have a place, and I don't want to, but you have places in neighborhoods where there's no reason to go there other than the show, it makes it difficult for people to make a decision to go to the show. And I think that's where the issue is. I think we're just an economical problem. It's economics don't work out. You know, I got to pay all these people to run the venue, and then I got to sell these tickets. And if I don't, I'm immediately, you know, eating a loss. And then the next day and then it becomes a risk business. And, you know, unless you got deep pockets, which, you know, none of us that are in this business have deep pockets, you can't just keep eating $1,000 loss every time until you get a winner just to cover it back. And I think that's what happens to smaller, bigger venues. You don't really see that with, right? We don't have a music problem at Dickies. Nobody's saying that, right? I mean, Dickies sells out every time. So they get a big band, which can normally fill probably 20% more than what Dickies holds. So it sells out, and it's not a problem. So we don't have a music problem at Fort Worth. It's just hard to keep the smaller venues going business wise. It's not the operator's fault necessarily. It's just, it costs too much to operate. And, you know, bands want more money. I mean, you know, you used to get a band for $400. Now the band's $1,000 or whatever it might be.
Tim, this is great. I know I've kept you over time. I wanted to talk to you about the stockyards business and about the music business, as well as about lunch at Caterina's and improvements at the Woodshed and everything else you've got going on in the Tim Love restaurant world. So I kind of wanted to cover all this. I'm really grateful for your extra time here and to hear so much about the business end of it, as well as about new food and new hours, and maybe take my phone onto the patio at Caterina's and things like that. Steve,
Yeah,
anything else?
I'd love you to come out to Caterina's. The lunch is it's a really great lunch for $39. All the service that you have at Caterina's is great.
And I can take cell phone pictures if I eat on the patio.
Exactly. Or the bar.
Steve, anything else?
No, I think the big thing I took away was air conditioning at Woodshed. But
Air conditioning Woodshed that should be front page news. I'm going to say
That is front page news, along with the biscuits that you get while you get air conditioning. It's great.
I'm going to take my cell phone out right now and go take a picture of that air conditioner at the Woodshed. Is probably what I'm going to do. So, well, thank you very, very much, Tim. We love having you anytime. Thank you very much for coming and telling us all about everything about the restaurant and music business in Fort Worth. Chef Tim Love has been our guest. Until next time, I'm Bud Kennedy.
And Steve Wilson.
Thank you all very much.